So where did we leave Alexander? We left Alexander in front of the Empress Zuzi. She was reading the letter. Alexander was standing in front of her, and she just twitched the lips, her mouth, which showed that the meeting had come to an end, and he was being escorted by a Mandarin out of the hall. And while going out of the hall, he was walking very slowly, as slow as possible. Why? Because he was enjoying the ivory and jade statues which were scattered casually around the building, much in a way. Cellini and Michelangelo, they are famous sculptors. So their the work of Cellini and Michelangelo, today be stacked against each other in Florence, because Florence has a lot of work from Cellini and Michelangelo, which is very famous, very expensive. They are all treasures, but they usually are stacked sometimes in some places in Florence like that. He was enjoying the statues. So, next question, please. Why did Sir Alexander take a slow walk while returning? Because he was enjoying and he was seeing it for the first time. He had an interest in these statues. Next, the next thing here, how did he spend his time in China? As his ministerial appointment was only for 3 years. So it was for 3 years. He was appointed as a minister in Peking. Sir Alexander took no leave. First point. That is, he was appointed for 3 years and he never took any leave, but preferred to use his time to put the embassy behind him and traveling on horseback into the outlying districts to learn more about the country and its people. So, how did he spend his time? He spent his time exploring the countryside of China on horseback. And he was accompanied on these trips, he was always accompanied by a Mandarin from the palace staff who acted as an interpreter and guide. Next question, write down, how did Mr. Alexander Heathcote spend his time in China? Okay. Answer. He had only 3 years. He was appointed for 3 years in Peking. Point 1. Point 2. He never took leave. Point 3. He spent his time exploring the country's outskirts of China on horseback. Fourth point, he was accompanied by a Mandarin from the palace staff who acted as an interpreter and a guide. So that was how he spent his time in China. Now, while he was going like that, see what happened. On one such journey, passing through the muddy streets of a small village with but a few houses called Ha Li Chuan. So, on one such journey, this man, Sir Alexander Heathcote, is reaching Ha Li Chuan. A distance of some 50 miles from Peking, Sir Alexander chanced upon an old craftsman's working place. Underline Ha Li Chuan. On one such journey, he reached the village Ha Li Chuan and he happened to come across the workshop of an old craftsman. Leaving his servants, the minister dismounted from his horse and entered the ramshackle wooden workshop to admire the delicate pieces of ivory and jade that crammed the shelves from floor to ceiling. Although modern, the pieces were superbly executed by an experienced craftsman, and the minister entered the little hut with the thought of acquiring a small memento of his journey. Once in the shop, he could hardly move in any direction for fear of knocking something over. The building had not been designed for a 6'3" visitor. He was a tall man. It was a very small shed, and when he moved about, he feared that he may knock down the statues and it may break. And it was filled with beautiful statues, and he wanted to just buy one small as a memento that he had visited this place, and the work was superb. And he was inside the workshop of an old craftsman. Sir Alexander stood still and enthralled. What is enthralled? He was, maybe his eyes was out and his mouth was open. Enthralled, excitedly surprised. That is enthralled. Taking in the fine scented jasmine smell that hung in the air. That's beautiful smell of those materials. An old craftsman bustled forward. Bustled forward means with short steps moving forward. That is bustling. Very fast. In a long blue coolie robe. Coolie robe. Robe means a dress, working dress. Blue robe. And flat black hat to greet him. A jet black plated pigtail fell down his back. You know, the Chinese, they have a pigtail, pinnite, mudi ingane. It fell down his back. He bowed very low and then looked up at the giant from England. So Chinese are usually of a stout stature. Looked up. The minister returned the bow while the Mandarin explained who Sir Alexander was and his desire to be allowed to look at the work of the craftsman. The old man was nodding his agreement. Yes, sir, you can look into all those things. Even before the Mandarin had come to the end of his request, for over an hour, the minister sighed and chuckled as he studied many of the pieces. Now, what is this sighed and chuckled? He took on sighed and chuckled as he studied many of the pieces with admiration. He admired each and every piece of it, and finally returned to the old man to praise his superb work, excellent work. Oh, hats off to this, hats off that. That is so beautiful. The slips are beautiful. The statues are so, like he was going on praising the work of the craftsman. The craftsman bowed once again, and his shy smile revealed no teeth but only genuine pleasure at Sir Alexander's compliments. The craftsman was very happy. Pointing a finger to the back of the shop, he beckoned the two important visitors to follow him. Come, there is something special I have kept there. You come. They did so and entered a veritable Aladdin's cave. Why Aladdin's cave? Said it was like magic land, with row upon row of beautiful miniature emperors, small statues of emperors and classical figures. The minister could have happily settled down in the augie of ivory for at least a week. So it is like me getting into a bookshop. I will not know which book to pull out, which book to take. I will go crazy. So each of you will have things like that, where you get into the one shop, you don't know what to choose. So the minister was in such a condition. Sir Alexander and the craftsman chatted away to each other through the interpreter. So he was going on speaking about, oh, this statue is this dynasty, this king's. They were talking, and interpreter was translating. They were communicating. And the minister's love and knowledge of the Ming dynasty was soon revealed. The little craftsman's face lit up with his discovery. What was the discovery? That Sir Alexander was deeply interested in the Ming dynasty. And he turned to the Mandarin and in a hushed voice made a request. I will give you something. Hushed voice. The Mandarin nodded his agreement and translated, I have, Your Excellency, a piece of Ming myself that you might care to see. A statue that has been in my family for over 7 generations. So, you are so much interested in Ming dynasty. I have a statue of Ming. 7 generations it has been in. So, where was that Chinese statue? The Chinese statue was in the workshop or in the house of an old craftsman. We come to know the name of the craftsman, Yang Li. An old craftsman, Yang Li, in the village of Hali Chuan, for 7 generations. Very important, for 7 generations. So, where was the Chinese statue? The journey of Chinese statue. You will have to list out the journey of Chinese statue. So, write journey of Chinese statue. First step, where was the Chinese statue? The Chinese statue was in the house of Ha, no, the house of an old craftsman, Young Li, in the village of Ha Li Chuan for 7 generations. I should be honored, said the minister. It is I who would be honored, Your Excellency, said the little man, who thereupon scampered out of the back door, which shows he was a little man, and scampered means with very short steps he is moving, nearly falling over a stray dog and on to an old peasant house a few yards behind the workshop. So there was the small house, his house, the young Lee's, the craftsman Young Lee's house, and this man, Young Lee craftsman, was moving on to his house.